Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw post show. Starting off tonight, man, we got AJ Styles coming out to the ring, grabs a microphone. AJ talks about Gunther's plan and how he wants to retire AJ Styles. AJ says that 2026 he will retire, but he wants himself and the fans to enjoy his retirement tour. AJ says that 2026 is his year. He also mentions that he wants to be world champion one more time. After that, AJ says that Gunther is good, but not phenomenal. After that, AJ Styles is interrupted by World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk. CM Punk comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. Punk talks about his history that he's had with Styles and how they've been enemies and also friends. Punk then also asks AJ what is he doing and why is he putting his career on the line against Gunther. Punk also said that he believes AJ Styles has more time left in his career. AJ then questions if Punk thinks that he cannot beat Gunther. Punk then says no, not at all. That's not what I meant at all. Punk says if he loses to Gunther, there will be no Punk versus AJ. AJ then says that he knows he can beat Gunther as well as CM Punk. Punk then says, you know what, how about we have a match tonight, AJ versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight title. Some interesting stuff there between AJ Styles and CM Punk. Moving on from that, we have our first official match of the night. It's a tag team matchup. It's Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, and Liv Morgan from the Judgment Day taking on Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Stephanie Vaquer. I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between both teams with the Judgment Day keeping the pace of the match. Liv Morgan then hits a code breaker on Io into a leg sweep for a near fall. Rhea then hits a fallaway slam followed by a Razor's Edge on Liv Morgan, sending Liv into Raquel Rodriguez. Liv then gets up, hits a DDT for a near fall. Stephanie then hits a Eat the Feet in the middle of the ring. But Rhea ultimately gets the win for her team by hitting a signature Riptide on Roxanne Perez. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Stephanie Vaquer. Hats off to Rhea, Io, and Stephanie for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have The Vision with Bron Breakker. They come out to the ring. Heyman has microphone in hand. He hypes up The Vision. Heyman says that Breakker is here for a face-to-face. Heyman then shows clips of Pierce putting hands on Bron Breakker. Heyman also says that Pierce's actions were uncalled for and inexcusable. Heyman then calls out Pierce. Pierce is here. Heyman then tells the fans to flip off Adam Pierce as well as boo Adam Pierce as well. Pierce comes out to the ring. Grabs a microphone, and he says he does admit that things got out of hand. He also admits that he did put hands on Bron Breakker first. Pierce then apologizes to Bron for touching him first. Pierce then announces that Breakker will be eligible for the Royal Rumble, pretty much reinstated back to WWE. Pierce then announces also that the Vision is also, all members of the Vision will be a part of this year's Royal Rumble. Pierce then also talks to Logan Paul. He announces, Austin Theory. And he announces that it will be Theory versus Rey Mysterio tonight, which gets us into an impromptu matchup. It is Austin Theory taking on Rey Mysterio. The match itself, I thought was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Theory and Mysterio, with Theory keeping the pace of the match. Theory hits a fallaway slam in the middle of the ring on Rey, but Rey gets up, hits a Hurricane Rana on Austin Theory. Logan Paul, who was ringside, he attacks Dragon Lee, who was ringside as well. Lee then attacks Penta as well. Theory then ultimately capitalizes on this by hitting a foot stomp on Rey Mysterio, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Austin Theory. After the match, Bron Breakker then attacks Penta and Dragon Lee. Braun then hits a spear on Dragon Lee as well as Penta. Reed, who was also ringside, hits a tsunami on Penta. Braun then hits another spear on Penta in the middle of the ring. Looks like the Vision are sending a message to everybody on the roster for the Royal Rumble. Moving on from that, we have Natalya pretty much having a video package, if you will, backstage. And it looks like Natalya finally introduces the Natty character to Monday Night Raw. Some interesting stuff there from Natalya. And moving on from that, we have a number 1 contenders tag team title matchup. It is a triple threat tag team match where we have the Americanos taking on Creed, a Fatal 4-Way. Number 1 contender tag team matchup. It is the Americanos taking on the Creeds versus Alpha Academy versus the New Day. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup with all teams involved, with the Creeds keeping the pace of the match. Otis then hits a worm in the middle of the ring with an elbow drop. Tozawa then hits a Trouble in Paradise on Kofi Kingston. Grayson Waller, who was ringside, attacks Tozawa. Jey Uso, who was sitting ringside during this matchup, hits a super kick on Grayson Waller. Tozawa then hits a senton off the top rope, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match and new number 1 contenders for the World Tag Team titles are Alpha Academy. Hats off to Alpha Academy for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that, we go into our main event of Monday Night Raw. It's for the World Heavyweight Championship. It is CM Punk defending the World Heavyweight title against AJ Styles. The match itself, I thought, was a really good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Styles and Punk, with Punk keeping the pace of the match. Punk then hits a knee drop on AJ for a near fall, followed by AJ getting up, hitting a running knee on the apron, taking out CM Punk ringside. Punk then gets in the ring as well as AJ Styles. Punk quickly hits a Shining Wizard on AJ for a near fall. AJ then hits a running forearm. Punk then hits an elbow drop for a near fall. Punk follows that up by quickly applying an Anaconda Vice on Styles, but the hold is broken. Punk then hits a GTS on the outside on AJ Styles. Punk then goes back into the ring. The referee starts the count. We get close to a 9 count, but AJ quickly gets back in the ring. After this, AJ quickly hits a Styles Clash on CM Punk for a near fall. AJ and Punk then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with AJ hitting a Pele kick on Punk in the middle of the ring. Then out of nowhere, Finn Balor is here. He quickly attacks AJ Styles and CM Punk. The match ends in a disqualification. Finn sends Punk into the barricade multiple times with a drop kick. Finn then follows this up by hitting 3 coup de grace off the top rope on CM Punk. It looks like Finn Balor was pissed off that he was not eligible for this year's Royal Rumble. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned. Number one, we all saw what happened at Saturday night's main event. And what I'm talking about is specifically AJ Styles. AJ Styles had a great match with Shinsuke Nakamura. And a lot of people are talking about AJ Styles and what's going to happen with AJ after the Royal Rumble. And the fact that a lot of people are pointing towards AJ Styles possibly retiring after this year's Royal Rumble this weekend. This is my thought process, man. Number one, would I be shocked if AJ loses this match against Gunther and ends up retiring from WWE after the Rumble? No, it would not be. You know, I mentioned this last week that if you guys go back to when AJ actually debuted for WWE, it was at the Royal Rumble in 2016. I feel like it's kind of like a nostalgia, come full circle kind of deal for AJ to have this somewhat retirement match at this year's Royal Rumble. You know, here we are 10 years later. You know what I mean? So, again, it's one of those things where I could see it happening, and a lot of direction is pointing towards that way of him retiring this weekend. Hence the reason why we just had a matchup at Saturday night's main event against Shinsuke Nakamura with AJ, one of AJ's biggest rivals. We also had on last night a match, a dream match, if you will, for AJ Styles fans, that we finally got AJ Styles versus CM Punk in the middle of the ring. So, again, man, to me, with AJ, it does seem as if they are pushing this narrative that he might ultimately possibly retire at this year's Royal Rumble. For multiple reasons. To be honest with you, Gunther eventually obviously is going to lose. I'm not sitting here saying the guy's going to have an undefeated streak for the remainder of his career. But the mantra around Gunther and the fact that he's known to retire athletes and retire superstars, whether it be Goldberg or whether it be John Cena, and now we're getting this retirement match with AJ Styles. It just, I don't know if Gunther, I mean, honestly, both of them really can't afford a loss. I mean, obviously, if AJ Styles loses, he will retire from WWE and he will move on to greater pastures. With Gunther, the reason why it's hard for me to believe that Gunther's going to take a loss here is because, honestly, Gunther can't take a loss here. Because everything that Gunther has done up to this point and how WWE and Michael Cole has hyped up Gunther as far as him being this guy who's basically this new age legend killer, if you will, as far as retiring top stars in the business, whether it be Goldberg or John Cena. It's hard to believe that Gunther will not beat AJ Styles this weekend and Gunther ultimately retires as well AJ Styles. It's just hard to believe that he wouldn't do that. Plus, at the end of the day, we got the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble is the road to WrestleMania. A lot of things are going to happen at this year's Royal Rumble, which I will talk about here in a second. But as far as when it pertains to AJ Styles, man, I feel like in a way, the writing's on the wall a little bit as far as AJ Styles possibly retiring this weekend. Now, they could pull a ruse where it could be something on the lines of another disqualification between the match between Gunther and AJ Styles, where the match ends in a disqualification and nobody wins, nobody loses. It turns into a no contest, and maybe they push AJ Styles' career a little bit longer until we get to this year's WrestleMania, where he will, in fact, finally retire at this year's WrestleMania. I know a lot of people are coming up with different scenarios and different kind of situations if AJ does happen to retire this weekend. There's been a lot of people even stating that the fact that if he does leave WWE and he retires from WWE, that this won't be the last time we see AJ Styles in the middle of a ring. Some people have mentioned that if AJ loses to Gunther, WWE might push AJ Styles over to TNA, where he can finish out his career over in TNA, especially after what AJ did on the debut episode of AMC, where he showed up. He had a stare down with Frankie Kazarian, who at the time was the current TNA World Heavyweight Champion, where unfortunately he lost to Mike Santana. So there is this notion that maybe that WWE is willing to push AJ Styles down to TNA and let AJ Styles finish his career where pretty much he got started in TNA. There's also that notion. The other issue the other thing that I've heard also is that a lot of people are also talking, which is crazy, that maybe he is done with WWE after this weekend, and maybe we might see AJ Styles walk to the doors of AEW. To be honest with you, as far as that whole AEW rumor, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, to be honest with you. Now, there are many, many matches that obviously AJ Styles could have over in AEW. We're talking of the likes of Kenny Omega. We're talking obviously Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, Andrade. There's a lot of matches on the table, or some matches on the table, if AJ Styles were to go over to AEW. Do I think that's necessarily going to happen? I highly doubt it. I mean, anything can happen. I'm not going to sit here and say that, it's not a possibility or in the realm of possibilities. It's just, I would be shocked if AJ did walk through the doors of AEW. I would be 100% shocked. But yeah, man, I mean, the way things are starting to kind of align themselves, the way these past couple of weeks have been going with AJ, as far as the match he had with Nakamura at Saturday Night's Main Event, the match he had last night with CM Punk, it just seems like maybe they're trying to get some matches out of the way for AJ. And then we get to this weekend's Royal Rumble in Saudi, where maybe AJ does take the loss, and maybe this is the last time that we see AJ Styles in WWE. I mean, the way that, like I said, everything is aligning up, whether it's the fact that we're looking at the whole nostalgia side of things, where he debuted with WWE in 2016, and then we get to the Rumble now in 2026, it's kind of like a full circle moment for AJ. And also the fact that we've seen a great match between AJ and Nakamura, and a dream match for fans of AJ Styles with the match that happened last night with AJ and CM Punk. So, I mean, the way things are aligning, you could see possibility that AJ might be done with WWE. Again, it could be a huge-ass ruse where maybe it's a disqualification, the match turns into a no contest, and maybe WWE adds some more time onto his contract to get him to WrestleMania, where AJ Styles finally has his last match in the confines of WWE, where he can retire at this year's WrestleMania. It's definitely a possibility. Other things I want to talk about, obviously, besides the AJ Styles stuff, we also had Finn Balor. He was a big vocal point at the end of the show last night, with Finn attacking both AJ Styles and specifically CM Punk. And, obviously Finn Balor's pissed off. Finn Balor, he approached Adam Pearce backstage last night on Monday Night Raw asking for a Royal Rumble spot. And Pearce pretty much told him no, that the Rumble is full. And unfortunately his hands are tied and he cannot put Finn Balor in this year's Royal Rumble. Even though Finn was trying to make his case to be a part of this year's Royal Rumble, I don't know if Finn is actually going to be a part of this year's Royal Rumble. So Finn got pissed off, and Finn got involved in the main event match between CM Punk and AJ Styles for the World Heavyweight title. So some interesting stuff there from Finn Balor, especially after Finn was also approached by Liv Morgan. It seems like Liv Morgan is pretty much in the head of Finn Balor. So, I don't know, She even made comments on the fact that she knows that CM Punk was trying to get Finn Balor to get out of the Judgment Day. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. Obviously, the other big vocal point last night, for me at least, was the number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles, which I do want to talk about. I was shocked with the outcome of Otis and Tozawa winning this matchup and becoming the new number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles. There was a lot of other tag teams, with all due respect to Otis and Tozawa. There were some other tag teams in here that I felt as if probably fit the need more as far as a world tag team title match than Otis and Tozawa. I honestly, in my honest opinion, I thought it was going to be the Creeds. This was the first time we've seen the Creeds in a while. They looked dominant in the match last night. I thought it was going to be the Creeds versus the Usos for the World Tag Team titles, but that was not the case. My other thing with that, though, honestly, is the position that Jey Uso is in now compared to what he was before. And obviously things change. We're talking about a guy who was a former World Heavyweight Champion, multi-time Tag Team Champion, current Tag Team Champions right now, a former Royal Rumble winner, a former Intercontinental Champion. And I feel like it's a step back for Jey to have this matchup against Otis and Tozawa. Call me crazy. I know also Jey also declared himself for this year's Royal Rumble. Great. But this whole matchup here with Otis and Tozawa, man, it's just, I don't know. To be honest, I really don't, man. To me, it's crazy to think what we saw in Jey Uso with him winning the Rumble, being Intercontinental Champion, winning the Rumble, and then beating Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship, having his, small title reign, lackluster title reign, if you will, to now where he is now the World Tag Team Champions, or one half of the World Tag Team Champions. And now those Tag Team Champions are going to defend those titles against Otis and Tozawa, which both these guys have been sitting back and catering for God knows how long. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man. I feel like Jey Uso's taking a step back on a lot of shit creatively right now in WWE, to be honest. Stephanie Vaquer, obviously she has some unfinished business with Raquel Rodriguez. I think it was announced last night that she will defend her women's world title against Raquel in a Philadelphia street fight next week on Monday Night Raw. So we do have that title defense from Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel Rodriguez. So I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup as well. And honestly, I'm impressed with Raquel, man. Raquel is really coming to her own. She is a powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with within the women's division on Monday Night Raw. So, I mean, she's really coming into her own. And she's somebody to me that, has really improved her skill base as far as what she can do in the middle of that ring. 100%. So I'm excited for the matchup against Raquel and Stephanie Vaquer. We also see the Vision. They were actually, obviously they were a big vocal point in last night's show as well, specifically Bron Breakker. This was the first time we've seen Bron since Pierce kind of, told Breakker to go home and that he was suspended. So we see Bron Breakker in the middle of the ring. There really wasn't much of a sit-down between Pierce and Breakker. Pierce did come out to the ring. He did apologize to Breakker for putting hands on him. So he did apologize. Obviously Heyman had his disagreements with Pierce as well. But Pierce made announcements. He made announcements that Breakker will be in this year's Royal Rumble. In fact, not only just Breakker, but the entire Vision stable, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and Bronson Reed, will also be a part of this year's Royal Rumble. So it looks like the Vision, is back to normal. As far as Breakker being re-enlisted back into WWE, his suspension seemingly is over. And we have the entire Vision stable in the confines of this year's Royal Rumble. So it's going to be very telling to see how the Royal Rumble plays out. The other thing I want to talk about, too, is Natalya. Obviously, we saw Natalya return back to Monday Night Raw last week. She ultimately calls Maxine Dupree her Women's Intercontinental Championship. She also turned heel and turned her back on Maxine by attacking Maxine Dupree. And a lot of people, and myself included, were wondering where are we going to see, or when, in fact, are we going to see this Natty character that we had seen wrestle on the Indies, whether it's a GCW event or NWA, this whole different character, the whole different side, this ruthless side of Natalya. Well, we finally get some inkling of that last night where Natalya herself introduces the Natty character to the main roster on Monday Night Raw. I think this is great. I think this is going to be awesome for Natalya. I hope it does pan out well for Natalya. I hope it's a whole different side of Natalya. I would completely do a complete repackage of Natalya, meaning that I would change my Titantron, I would change my theme music, I would do everything different with Natalya. I don't want her just to change her ring attire and still have the same lame-ass theme music and still lame Titantron. I want something completely different. I want a whole different package for Natalya, meaning that I want a whole new theme song. I want a new Titantron. The aesthetics around Natalya, I want everything to be different than what the Natalya that we've been seeing for so long. And a ruthless, more, aggression Natalya. And I think that would fit perfect with Natty. I think the Natty character would fit perfectly in WWE right now. It brings in a more ruthless aggression to Natalya's character, and I'm all for it. I mean, like I said before, man, sometimes these heel turns, at times, do pay off. I mean, the biggest one in my mind right now, and I've been saying this, is Naomi. I mean, Naomi has always been a babyface, and obviously she has gotten over with the fans. The fans gravitated towards Naomi, and then we saw that Naomi attacked Jade Cargill, and then Naomi turned heel. Caused complete destruction with the whole friendship and alliances that Naomi had with Bianca Belair, as well as Jade Cargill. And Naomi came back as this more, evil, sadistic, pissed off Naomi. And it worked so well that the fans gravitated towards Naomi, and it also helped Naomi also become women's world champion. So it does work for certain individuals to go from babyface to heel. I thought the same thing that was going to happen for Bayley, which I don't know what the hell they're doing with Bayley. Seemingly, it seems as if she's a babyface now, not a heel. But sometimes it does work, man. I think it's perfect for Natalya to turn heel. I also think, and I'm going to say this too, I think Natalya is also someone else on the main roster that their career is slowly starting to wind down. So, if not now, then when, for Natalya to turn heel and give her being a heel an opportunity, or a chance, if you will, on the main roster. Because as long as Natalya's been in WWE, she's always has been a babyface. So to see this other side of Natty is going to be very interesting on the main roster. I also want to talk about the Royal Rumble. Obviously, the Royal Rumble is happening this weekend in Saudi Arabia. I think it starts at 2 p.m. Eastern. I think it's this Saturday over in Saudi Arabia. Look, man, the Royal Rumble to me is always one of WWE's big four events. And obviously, it's the start to the road of WrestleMania. A lot of things happen. A lot of unpredictable shit happens. Obviously, we get some returns. We get some debuts that happen at the Royal Rumble. Most notably, AJ Styles made his WWE debut at the Royal Rumble in 2016 that shocked the world in professional wrestling in 2016. So I think this Rumble is going to be incredible. I think there's going to be a lot of returns. I think there's going to be some debuts, some call-ups, obviously, to this year's Royal Rumble. And speaking of call-ups, we've been seeing these vignettes, if you will, or these video packages of Oba Femi, whether it's on SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. Wondering, when the hell are we going to see Oba Femi? Is he going to be on Monday Night Raw? Is he going to show up on SmackDown? When the hell are we going to see Oba Femi? Well, we finally got that answer last night. Oba Femi will be at this year's Royal Rumble, which is going to be absolutely incredible. This Rumble is going to be loaded, bro. We got Jey Uso. I can see the return of LA Knight. We have the entire Vision stable. There's going to be a lot of notable names in this Rumble. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Oba Femi, possible return of Chris Jericho. This Rumble is going to be loaded. And I'm excited, man. I think, like I said, this is something where this first PLE right here gets us on the road to WrestleMania. And like I said, it's one of WWE's big four pay-per-views every year in the calendar year. So I'm excited for the Rumble, bro. I think the Rumble is going to be absolutely awesome. We're going to see a lot of names, whether it's the women's side of the Rumble things or the men's side for the Rumble. I'm excited. And like I said, it's going to definitely help Monday Night Raw and SmackDown moving forward with their shows until we get to WrestleMania, because now we slowly get the build towards WrestleMania. We start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, the direction of where WWE is going, leading us into this year's WrestleMania live from Las Vegas, Nevada, at Allegiant Stadium. So I'm excited, man. To me, it's going to be very telling. The Rumble in its entirety is going to be very telling. We had the men's Rumble match, we had the women's Rumble match, obviously, and we also have AJ Styles' match against Gunther, where this could be the last time we see AJ Styles in the confines of WWE. So it's going to be a very interesting Royal Rumble this year, for sure. And I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be awesome. I think we're going to see a lot of notable names in this year's Rumble. I also think, besides the Rumble, I thought last night's Monday Night Raw episode was probably one of the best Raw episodes we've seen in the past couple weeks. I thought it was really good. It was put together very well. We obviously get a dream match here between AJ Styles and CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. We get the return of Braun Breaker, where he now will also be a part of this year's Royal Rumble, so we can add Breaker into the mix with Obafemi and Brock Lesnar and Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. The entire Vision stable's in the Rumble as well. We get the, I guess, debut, if you will, in a way, of Natalya's new character, Natty. Will be making her way to the main roster here relatively soon. So I think Natalya, what we all know of Natalya, is gone, and now we're getting this more edgier, ruthless aggression type of Natalya with the Natty character being introduced last night on Monday Night Raw. We get the announcement of Obafemi. He will be making his main roster debut on the Royal Rumble. On top of that, we also see what happened with Finn Balor. Seems like Finn Balor's pissed off that he's not going to be in this year's Royal Rumble. And pissed off so much that he attacked the World Heavyweight Champion by hitting 3 coup de grace off the top rope, landing on CM Punk. He pretty much beat the hell out of CM Punk in the middle of the ring. So we see that as well. We see some cracks, if you will, in the confines of the Judgment Day, specifically between Liv Morgan and Finn Balor. So we're going to see how that plays out as well. We have a Women's World Championship matchup next week on Monday Night Raw between Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel Rodriguez in I believe, a Philadelphia street fight, which is going to be very interesting. So things are starting to line up, bro. But again, I think a lot of people are going to have eyeballs on this year's Royal Rumble. Most specifically, the AJ Styles and Gunther match, man. Everybody wants to see how this match is going to play out. And is this going to be the end of AJ Styles' career? Is this the last time that we'll see the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, in a WWE ring? But with that being said, though, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.